Hello everybody, Phil here. I'm talking with you on this video for a simple reason. To showcase a couple of things I did back when I was about 16 years old in the mid-90s, when I was a member of the Octamed dialing bulletin board system run by Raybert Frost and TJ Kinnunen. And it was a wonderful time for people who liked the tracking scene on the Amiga, to make Amiga modules. Anybody who's familiar with that knows exactly what I'm talking about. But basically, an Amiga module is basically a program that allows you to take wave or samples and stuff like that, and then compose them with slight coding and stuff like that on the actual tracker interface to make interesting music. A couple of ones I want to showcase today was from the bulletin board, quite unique ones. The first being Star Trek Voyager's main theme. Now, for this particular one, I was at college at the time, and Star Trek Voyager had literally just come out. It wasn't even available on Sky or cable or anything here in the UK. If you got an import copy of Caretaker, the pilot episode, you were shoo-in to see Star Trek Voyager for the first time. And I was enthralled with it. I was at college, and my friends there, my friend who actually was head of the department for IT, Liam, managed to get an import copy. He did a household viewing of it, by the way, at his home, which was really nice of him and his girlfriend at the time. And we all sat down and watched it, and it was a thoroughly enjoyable intro episode for Voyager. And it got me going back to the Amiga and the tracking stuff afterwards. And I thought, ooh, it's got a great catchy theme music by Jerry Goldsmith. I thought, how can we do something about this? And don't forget, at the time of when I did this was about mid-March 1994. There was no released version of the Voyager original soundtrack, from Crescendo Records. It was basically the theme music that you saw on the VHS or you saw on the televised version. That was it. So I went back and I just improvised around the main theme of Star Trek Voyager and created this wonderful little number on Amiga, which I uploaded to the BBS for everybody to actually share and enjoy. The one thing about this, for anybody who's an Amiga enthusiast of those days, the sound samples I used for that one were a direct, and don't get me wrong, it was what everybody did on the Octamed bulletin board. If you had a module up there, you just basically ripped everybody's samples and then made use of them. But these were mainly ripped from Olaf Gustafsson's Pinball Dreams, Pinball Fantasies sample set. And I turned it into a improv version of the Star Trek Voyager theme with a little bit of, inspiration from what I thought might have been the original soundtrack. I wasn't actually far off if you think about it. But anyway, from 1994, 16-year-old me, Star Trek Voyager. Enjoy, I'll be right back. I enjoyed doing that one. Following on from USS Voyager, and by the way, back then I was known as, for those who actually were on the bulletin board, I know TDK might remember this, a few others, I was known as Odo of QI at the time. I was 16, give me some credit, you know. I didn't find my identity as Mindwipe until many, many, many years later when I started working with Chris Jones when I did the Star Trek Legacy remixes for the mod for that game, and then following on from Armada 3 for Sins of a Solar Empire, etc., 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 and everything I've done since. But yeah, back then, we went on to, I went on, I should say, to kind of do some more little hit and miss tracks with QI and, you know, for the demo scene as it was in the days. You know, anybody who knows Assembler, not Assembler, Assembly, 93, 94, 95, 96, you know, when he had all the demos and stuff like that. I was part of Quantuming. We were a little pissant group of kids who just made some cheesy Britpop style or surrealism demos, like Who Ran Off with Assault and Dog Chunks and all that type of nonsense you always got in the 90s from the UK. And, you know, we had a lot of fun with it. But I still had a lot of passion when it came to Octamed. And I got to know a few people through the bulletin board on that day, you know, through those days, including TDK, Mark Knight, yeah, who doesn't remember a bloody bean of it, or at least a bit selective. I also got to know Olaf Gustafsson, and I also got to know many others. Ben Thomas was one of the more prolific ones of that era, and unfortunately in 97, he died in a car crash. He used to run what was known as the Med Users Group magazine, you know, with the mail order diskettes and stuff like that of everything that used to be involved with that. And unfortunately he died in a car crash, and he did some wonderful tracks. But the bulletin board for its day was a good collaboration of a lot of artists. And like I said, we shared and integrated a lot of each other's samples. I mean, I mentioned the fact that for that last track, it was mainly used with Olaf Gustafsson's Pinball Dream stuff. That's not entirely true, because if you heard the actual orchestral thing, that's actually from Rafael Gustau, who's actually also a member of the Octamed Bulletin Board. He's famous for doing the soundtracks for the game Flashback on the Amiga, for the Amiga conversion. And he had that wonderful, wonderful synth orchestral sound with the, you know, the orc synth and stuff like that. And part of that also on Voyager was used from his sample set as well. I've later, as anybody knows, went on to do the tracks 5 and 7 for the Holocube tribute for that, which is available on Bandcamp. That aside, we all used each other's samples. We all talked to each other and, you know, bounced ideas and stuff off each other and stuff like that. It was a good. It was one of the fun times before the internet became the internet it was. So much so that Ray Burt Frost himself decided he was going to have a dabble at doing an Octamed tune himself, but he didn't know exactly what tune he wanted to do. Now, I'd been toying with a couple of Star Trek based recreation themes and stuff like that. I'd already done Star Trek 3 for my thesis in school, and also was messing around with the Next Generation theme, but jazzing it up a bit, you know. And he loved the jazzed up version of my Star Trek The Next Generation theme, so much so that he said, "Can I have a play with it?" And I went, go nuts. So he took my file and then augmented it with samples he'd taken from various episodes of the show and turned it into what he rebranded as the Trek rap. And I have to admit, it came out pretty well. You know, it was one of those times where people just enjoyed having fun. And this is one of my favorites. This is the Trek rap by Raybert Frost, but also by me on the backing music, if that makes sense. Oh, the memories of the days of the bulletin boards and days gone by. I'll be right back.
You're dead. This is the afterlife. And I'm God.
Affirmative.
To boldly go where no one has gone before.
I protest. I am not a merry man.
Make it so.
It is a good day to die.
Begin night watch.
Affirmative.
Make it so. Make it so.
Unable to comply. Analysis verified.
Irrelevant.
Analysis verified.
Irrelevant.
Analysis verified. Holodeck 3 program is ready.
In another time and place, this could be funny.
Irrelevant.
I busted him up.
Make it so.
It is a good day to die. It is a good day to die.
Those were fun times. Fun times back from 1994, like I say. Yeah. And this is even before I even established myself as Mindwipe. In fact, shortly after the Octamed stuff, I was just doing other stuff for about a decade. I never bothered to think about any of the stuff I did back then again until I started getting into the gaming scene again with friends from what was known as Cugs. I know a few people who were listening and going, "Oh, you do not say that word," but it was with Cugs that started it all off, and then I got to know people like Moonraker, Chris Jones, Scott Murphy, Remore, Phoenix, Admiral Q, and many other people. Yeah, Max Loaf. Yeah, and we all were all gamers at the time playing Star Trek Legacy, the new game that just come out from Activision back in 2006. And let's be honest, it was a pretty piss poor game. It was badly published. It was badly developed. Even the story writers, Derek Chester and rest of God's soul, the late Dorothy Fontana, who co-wrote with Derek the story of Star Trek Legacy, admitted it was a lackluster piece of shit. And then we all came together in the modding community, and this is when I got into the modding community, and we made Ultimate Universe. And that's when I started getting back into doing music again under the name of Mindwipe. And I'm going to leave you with this last piece of music from that, because since 2006, I've gone on from doing Star Trek Legacy, the Ultimate Universe, to doing Armada 3 with Max Loaf and all the guys, Technophobius, and all the crew there, yeah. And then I've done about 3 or 4 albums based on retro video gaming music, like My Might Go Sonic and Pixels and Beer. And then I helped with the Kickstarter for David Lowe, Uncle Art, to redo all of his iconic music from the days from things like Buggy Blast all the way up to, Frontier Elite 2, etc. Yeah. And I've had an enjoyable time of it in the last decade, rekindling some of my old chops, but also meeting new people and getting to know people I used to idolize as a teenager, but now become good friends, and I'm proud of that. You see beyond the idolization of your fandom. You see them for who they are as good musicians, for what they've done, and I really do like that. It was a fun decade over the last 10 years. But yeah, between 94 and 2006, I literally was nada. I was just doing gigs and stuff like that with pubs and clubs and stuff like that. So I'm going to leave you with this last one, which is from Star Trek Legacy: The Ultimate Universe mod. And it was the first thing I did since the Octamed days, publicly. And it's based on the Rob Abernethy and Jason Gray's alternate theme music that was never published, but they gave it kudos to actually be remastered and remixed. So I took their arrangement and ran with it, and this is where we came up with the theme for Star Trek Legacy: The Ultimate Universe, Jumping Off Asteroids. And I will see you all next time, folks. Until next time, Mindwipe out.